Most backyard chicken keepers have never heard of it. Most commercial poultry operations do not use it, and if you walk into a farm supply store and ask for one, the staff will likely point you toward a Leghorn or a Rhode Island Red and move on. But ask a serious heritage breed enthusiast, a small-scale egg producer who sells direct, or a farmer who has spent decades watching breeds come and go, and they will tell you about a chicken that lays up to 320 eggs per year, maintains that production through conditions that would send most commercial breeds into a laying slump, and does it while staying healthier, living longer, and requiring less pharmaceutical intervention than virtually any other laying breed available. The breed exists, the production numbers are documented, and the reason most people have never encountered it is not because it underperforms, it is because the economics of industrial poultry production created a selection environment that had no use for a bird this well-rounded, and the breeds that served the industrial model crowded everything else to the margins. Welcome to Herd to Harvest. Today we are covering the Australorp, what it is, what it actually produces, why industrial poultry moved away from it, and why the small-scale grower who plants one in their flock today is making one of the best decisions available in backyard and small farm poultry keeping. Let us get into it. The breed and its origin. The Australorp, a contraction of Australian Black Orpington, was developed in Australia in the early 20th century through selective breeding from Black Orpington stock imported from England, crossed with Rhode Island Reds, White Leghorns, Minorcas, and Langshan's to improve laying performance while maintaining the Orpington's robust dual-purpose body type. The result was a bird that combined the calm temperament and meat quality of the Orpington with egg production numbers that, when formally documented, shocked the international poultry community. In 1922 and 1923, Australian Australorps set world egg-laying records that stood for years. A single hen laid 364 eggs in 365 days under official competition conditions, essentially one egg per day for an entire year. A team of 6 Australorps averaged 309.5 eggs per hen over a 52-week period. These were not laboratory conditions or specially manipulated birds. They were production records from a breed that had been developed specifically for practical farm use. The Australorp was recognized by the American Poultry Association in 1929. By the mid-20th century, it was one of the most popular laying breeds in Australia, the United Kingdom, and parts of the United States. And then the industrial poultry revolution happened, and the Australorp's position in commercial production effectively disappeared. Why industrial poultry moved on? Understanding why the Australorp was sidelined by commercial production requires understanding what industrial egg production actually optimizes for, and it is not what most people assume. Commercial egg production optimizes for feed conversion efficiency above almost everything else. The metric that drives breed selection in industrial settings is eggs produced per pound of feed consumed. A small-bodied bird that lays consistently on minimal feed outperforms a larger, more robust bird on this metric, even if the larger bird produces more eggs in absolute terms, because the feed cost per egg is lower with the smaller bird. The White Leghorn, the breed that dominates industrial egg production globally, is essentially a laying machine optimized for this single metric. It is small-bodied, highly strung, stress-prone, disease-susceptible without pharmaceutical management, and produces almost no usable meat at the end of its laying life. But it lays prolifically on minimal feed in a controlled industrial environment. And that efficiency made it the default commercial choice as the industry scaled through the second half of the 20th century. The Australorp, by contrast, is a larger bird. It eats more feed. Its feed conversion ratio is less impressive than a Leghorn's on a pure eggs per pound of feed calculation. For an operation running hundreds of thousands of birds, where feed costs are the primary variable in profitability, this difference matters enormously. The Australorp's advantages, hardiness, longevity, temperament, dual-purpose utility, Health resilience, performance in non-industrial environments, are not captured by the metrics that industrial production uses to evaluate breeds. So, industrial production stopped using it. The result is that a breed that set world egg production records and was widely considered the premier laying breed in the world was reduced to heritage breed status, maintained by small-scale enthusiasts and traditional farmers, while the commercial industry consolidated around breeds optimized for the factory farm environment. What the Australorp actually produces. The production records from the 1920s represent exceptional performance under competition conditions. Practical, real-world production from well-managed Australorps in backyard and small farm settings consistently falls in the range of 250 to 320 eggs per year, a figure that places them among the top laying breeds available to the small-scale producer. But the production number alone does not capture why Australorps are exceptional for non-industrial settings. 3 additional characteristics make them stand out from every other high-production breed available. First, laying consistency through conditions that disrupt other breeds. Australorps maintain production better through heat stress, cold snaps, environmental disruption, and dietary variation than almost any other laying breed. Where a Leghorn goes into a complete laying slump during a heat wave or a period of feed change, an Australorp typically maintains reduced but continuing production. For a backyard or small farm keeper who cannot control every variable the way an industrial facility does, this consistency is worth more than the theoretical peak production of a more sensitive breed. Second, longevity and sustained production across multiple laying years. Commercial laying hens are typically culled after 12 to 18 months because their peak production declines sharply after the first laying year. Australorps maintain viable production across 3 to 4 laying years and, in well-managed flocks, sometimes beyond. For a small-scale keeper who is not running a continuous replacement cycle, a flock that produces reliably across multiple years without complete annual restocking represents a significant practical and financial advantage. Third, genuine dual-purpose utility. The Australorp's Orpington heritage gives it a meat-quality body type that the Leghorn entirely lacks. Cockerels and culled hens from an Australorp flock produce a carcass of genuine table quality, meaningful for the homestead keeper who wants to use every bird the flock produces rather than dispatching underweight Leghorn males at hatch with nothing to show for it. Health resilience. What actually sets it apart? The health resilience of the Australorp is the characteristic that the title references, and it is worth examining in detail because it is the quality that most directly differentiates the breed from its commercial competitors in non-industrial production settings. Industrial laying breeds, including the white Leghorn and its commercial hybrid derivatives, have been selected so intensively for production that their immune function and physiological resilience have been compromised in the process. They are highly productive in controlled environments with pharmaceutical prophylaxis, precise nutritional supplementation, and biosecure housing. Remove those supports, and their health deteriorates rapidly. Disease challenge, environmental stress, and dietary variation that a hardy traditional breed manages without incident can devastate a flock of commercial hybrid layers. Australorps were developed before pharmaceutical poultry management existed, before routine antibiotic use, before vaccine protocols, before the controlled environment barn. They were selected by farmers who needed birds that stayed healthy and productive in real farm conditions, with variable weather, imperfect nutrition, and no pharmaceutical safety net. That selection history is embedded in the breed's immune and physiological characteristics in ways that decades of subsequent breeding for pure production metrics have not erased. This is not an abstract claim. Backyard and small farm poultry keepers who have kept both commercial hybrid layers and Australorps consistently report lower rates of respiratory disease, lower incidence of reproductive disorders, including egg peritonitis and prolapse, better recovery from illness when it does occur, and longer productive lives in their Australorp flocks. The breed's robustness in free-range and pastured conditions, where birds encounter environmental pathogens, variable diets, and physical challenges that confined commercial hens never face, is significantly superior to commercial hybrid layers in documented small farm comparisons. Managing Australorps for maximum production. Getting the most from Australorps requires understanding that they perform best when their management matches their biology rather than mimicking industrial protocols designed for different breeds. Australorps are foragers. In a pastured or free-range system, access to diverse plant material, insects, and soil organisms meaningfully improves their production, health, and the nutritional quality of their eggs. The deep orange yolk color that results from pastured Australorp management, driven by carotenoid intake from foraging, is a premium quality signal that commands higher prices in direct sales. Feed the foraging instinct, and the breed rewards it. They are also cold-hardy to a degree that most commercial breeds are not. Their dense, tight feathering and calm, energy-conserving temperament allow them to maintain body condition and laying through winter conditions that would shut down a leghorn flock. Supplemental lighting to extend the photoperiod through the shortest winter days is the primary management lever for maintaining winter production. 14 to 16 hours of light per day sustains the hormonal signals at drive laying regardless of natural day length. Nutrition management should support production without overconditioning. Australorps have good appetites and will overconsume feed if given ad-liv access to high-calorie grain mixes without adequate foraging activity to balance it. Overweight hens lay poorly and are more susceptible to reproductive disorders. A balanced layer ration, supplemented with forage, comfrey, and high-protein treats including dried insects or black soldier fly larvae, supports consistent production without the weight gain that reduces it. The economics for the small-scale producer. The case for Australorps in a direct sales egg operation comes down to three numbers: production volume, production consistency, and flock longevity. A flock of 20 Australorps in well-managed pastured conditions produces 200 to 250 dozen eggs annually at $5 to $8 per dozen for pastured direct sale eggs. That is $1,000 to $2,000 per year from 20 birds. The flock maintains meaningful production across 3 to 4 years without full replacement, and the lower pharmaceutical input requirement and higher resilience in non-industrial conditions reduces the veterinary and medication costs that erode margin in flocks of less hardy breeds. The Australorp is not the bird for the factory farm. It never was. Its advantages: health resilience, production consistency across variable conditions, longevity, genuine dual-purpose utility, and foraging capacity are specifically valuable in the production environments that factory farming cannot replicate. Backyard flocks, small pastured operations, homesteads, direct sales egg producers. These are the settings where the Australorp's qualities translate directly into lower costs, higher returns, and less management stress than any commercial hybrid layer can offer. The Australorp did not disappear because it stopped performing. It was sidelined by an industry that optimized for a single metric, feed conversion efficiency, in a single production environment, the controlled industrial barn, and had no use for a breed whose advantages only revealed themselves in the conditions that environment was designed to eliminate. Those conditions are exactly where most small-scale chicken keepers operate: variable weather, imperfect nutrition, free-range and pastured environments, no pharmaceutical safety net. Real farm conditions that reward hardiness, adaptability, and genuine production resilience rather than peak performance in a controlled setting. The growers who rediscovered the Australorp, and there are more of them every season as word travels through the small farm and backyard poultry community, consistently report the same experience: fewer health problems, more consistent eggs, birds that lay for years rather than months, and a flock that feels fundamentally more robust than the commercial hybrid layers they replaced. That is not nostalgia for a heritage breed. That is a practical assessment of a tool that fits the job. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you keeping Australorps? Have you compared them directly to commercial hybrid layers? Drop your experience in the comments. This community learns most from people who are actually managing flocks and seeing the results firsthand. If this breakdown was useful, subscribe to Herd to Harvest. We're here every week with practical, research-backed content for small-scale livestock keepers and growers who want their animals performing as well as their land. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next episode.